Hello, I'm Archie Luxury, and I'm coming to you live from Singapore! Singapore, what a wonderful city. Probably the greatest city on earth here. This is absolutely fantastic, and we're bringing the Archie Luxury channel up a notch. International city for an international YouTube celebrity, Singapore. The greatest city on earth. What a wonderful city indeed, fuckers. Absolutely fantastic city. Absolutely on the channel, fuckers. Hello, I'm Archie Luxury and welcome to the program Fuckers. And today I'd like to talk about what do I love about Singapore. And I gotta tell you, fuckers, I've been coming to Singapore ever since 1997. And I absolutely love the city. And, you know, there's certain aspects of Singapore that give me the fucking shits. But there's other aspects that I really, really love. And what I love, you've just landed, and you can see I'm just driving. I'm driving into the city from the airport. And first thing you notice as soon as you land in Singapore and you step out of the airport is how fucking hot it is. Asia is a stinking hot place. And one thing I really noticed is that in Singapore, there's such beautiful, just the standard of the roads, just all the infrastructure. It looks so fucking beautiful. It looks wonderful. And particularly when you're driving in from the airport, you notice these tree-lined and garden-lined side paths to the road, to the highway, and, you know, not a twig or a stick out of place. It all looks absolutely perfect. And what I really love Singapore, there's no rubbish on the road. Like, you know, you go to most cities, there's shit all over the place. Not in Singapore. It seems to be the most perfect city I've ever been to. There's no graffiti, no shit anywhere. It's all... I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions. I'm sure there's some Singaporeans who will come back in Singlish. That's Singapore English. And tell me how wrong I am. But for the most part, as soon as you arrive there, there's beautiful tree-lined highways, and I mean, this takes a lot of fucking work. Believe you me, I've tried that green thumb shit myself. And you got to water these fuckers. You got to prune these fuckers. You got to attend to these fuckers. Otherwise, they just look like shit. And Singapore has got beautiful, beautiful infrastructure. There's no broken concrete. There's no busted stuff. It seems to be in good order. And coming in from the airport, I love that drive. It just resets my clock. And Singapore's often called Asia Light because proper Asia, like Hong Kong, Bangkok, is very, very dirty. It's a bit on the dirty side. That's part of the charm, is that it's not picture perfect. It's evolved from hundreds of years, thousands of years. Whereas Singapore, it's very much like a Western city with Asian people in it. It's sort of like a very upmarket housing estate that you Americans, an upmarket housing estate just looks so fucking perfect. And there's a reason why it looks so perfect. The government, they fucking fine you. Singapore's a fine country. You do something wrong, they'll fine you. You speed, they fine you. You litter, they fine you. You weren't allowed to have chewing gum in Singapore up until recent times. And it's a fine place. And some people that really shits them off. Singapore is a it's just nasty. There's a bit of bureaucracy and red tape that makes that. I mean, the plus side is it makes Singapore such a wonderful place. And I seriously adore it. I think Singapore is a great place to be. I mean, if I was loaded, if I was filthy fucking rich, Singapore is the place that I'd like to live. I reckon Singapore's a fantastic place to be. And what I love about Singapore, it's so multicultural. As soon as you arrive at the airport, Singapore has a lot of Muslims. Nothing against Muslims. I like Muslims. You got a lot of Indians. You've got a lot of Malaysians. And Singapore has a very, very rich history. Officially, it's the Republic of Singapore. It's a sovereign city-state. It's an island country in Southeast Asia. And it's an amazing place. Singapore's one of the world commercial hubs, the fourth largest financial center, and one of the 5 busiest ports. And this is what's so significant with Singapore. The population, approximately 5.4 million people live in Singapore. 2 million are foreign-born, while Singapore is diverse. Ethnic Asians, 75% of the population is Chinese, with a significant minority of Malays, Indians, and Eurasians. There are 4 official languages: English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. The country promotes multiculturalism through a range of official policies. Singapore has what does it say here? Singapore, it's just a great fucking place. Self-government began in 1959, and it's got a huge history there. I mean, Singapore itself, the British was there, and that's why you can see such wonderful British architecture. In World War II, the British surrendered. Surrender, monkeys! Winston Churchill called the defeat of Singapore the worst disaster and largest capitulation in British history. And yep, that's what happened, fuckers. It's a very interesting place there. Singapore itself is it's a country that has had extreme wealth come in there. You look at the number of Benzes, European cars on the roads, and Singapore's got a great idea. Everyone loves cars in Asia, and what Singapore does to keep the motors off the streets, they have very high tax and costs to run cars in Singapore. And it makes it a bigger status symbol than it is. And, you know, like a Corolla will cost you fucking 70,000 fucking dollars. It's just amazing. Very, very expensive for cars. And Singapore does things in such a planned way. Not like a communist planned way, but a planned way nonetheless. And on my recent trip to Singapore, I noticed there was a lack of Toyota Crowns. Toyota Crowns are sort of the official taxi of Singapore, and they've actually been replaced by Hyundai Grandeur diesels. And it's an amazing concept. It's just little changes like that happen. I was last in Singapore in 2010. 2010 I was in Singapore. And just little changes like that, wow, just wiped off the face of Singapore, those taxis, those classic taxis. And I gotta tell you, fuckers, I gotta tell you, Singapore ain't cheap there. You're paying for a hotel on Orchard Road there, 150 to 250 for a below average sort of hotel. Things like prestige hotels, very expensive. Singapore, the food is cheaper than Western prices, but the servings are smaller. Taxis are very cheap. The transport system is absolutely amazing. But you know, there's a lot of other things there in Singapore. It's an interesting place. I adore it. I adore it. It's a financial hub. A lot of rich fuckers. It's not a place you'd really want to be poor or struggling. Not sort of Not a place to be poor or struggling. But, you know, the interesting thing is there's a lot of maids from the Philippines, a lot of Filipinos in Singapore. You've got a lot of how would I put this politely? You've got a lot of Asian girls who come in to work in the red light type areas, and prices aren't cheap. Prices aren't cheap. On a recent holiday, well, a couple months ago, you know, 4 floors of Hawes, Orchard Towers in Singapore. I went up there, and you know, an R&T rub and tug would be $50 plus $50 for the extras, 100 Sing, and what's that? That's $80 US. That's not exactly cheap. A girl for the night, they wanted 200 Sing, 200 Sing. That's a fair bit of money. It's how would you put it? It's expensive. Singapore is not fucking cheap. It's an expensive city. And, you know, you go to it, there's a lot of luxury and high-end stores, but they're not really discount. They don't discount. And I kind of, I'd like to know how Singapore goes there. It's with all these luxury stores, Marina Bay Sands. Fuck me dead. Who can afford all this shit? That's what I'd like to know. Who can really afford all this shit that you see there? It's a fucking wealthy place, that's for sure. But Singapore itself, highly recommend. Love the city, even if it's only for a short time. Absolutely love the city. And I think architecturally, if you're a street photographer, you get wonderful shots in Singapore. It's a great place to visit. I love that British architecture. You've got the Indian culture. You've got the Chinese, the Malays. It's just, I reckon it's a perfect, I would say Singapore's probably, if I was wealthy, that's probably where I would be. In Singapore with the wife, and I'd go to Bangkok for business activities, if you know what I mean. Business activities. And I think it would be a very fine place. I'm Archie Luxury, reporting on my recent Asian experiences. Tell me what you fuckers think of that. Nice one, Archie. It's great to see Singapore.